And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore Podcast, where we never sit out. My name is Matthew Dawson, your host, and joining with me today, of course, as always, C the D, Chris Dawson. What's going on?
Not much. I'm excited. This is game week here, right? We're officially 3 days away from college football. Everyone, casuals will say it's week 0. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It's college football. It's back. It's the best time of year. I love it.
Gosh, look, I don't care if they schedule the worst games possible in week 0, right? Which is kind of like what they did.
That's what they do.
Which is what they do. But I don't care. I don't care. I mean, look, there's some legitimate good games. Ohio, San Diego State. Dude, that could have potential New Year's Six implications. It could be. Those are two teams that could be competing for their respective conferences. And a loss like that to the other team, right, could knock them out of New Year's Six contention. So that game is bigger than I think a lot of people think. I mean, Jacksonville State's first game in Division I. Can't say I've watched a whole lot of Jackson State football in my life, but here we go. I'm pumped. I am pumped. So today, what do we got today? We're going to talk quarterbacks. A lot of new ones are being announced as quarterback ones, which is a big deal, right? I mean, look, we're a week away. So, yeah, they should be getting announced, right?
Some of them more surprising than others.
Some of them very surprising, but we're not insiders for a certain respective team, so maybe they weren't as surprising as we thought that they were. But so we're going to talk about a lot of those. And also, as you can see, AP top 25 reaction time. Yep, here it is. Okay. I'm going to start pumping out my own kind of top 25 rankings as well. Like, what would I vote if I was an AP voter? Which maybe one of these days I will be. So, yeah, we're gonna give our reactions. My initial reaction, I'll just say, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Everyone has their gripes with it, right? But come on, we don't even know anything about any of these teams really. So
it's not going to be perfect. And to be honest, does it really matter with the college football playoffs? But again, it's fun to talk about. It's college football content. We love it. We're here. We're starving for some football, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, you want to get us going on the quarterback conversation?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little. I wouldn't call it quite rapid fire, but we're gonna give our just quick initial thoughts on these quarterbacks that were announced. So I'll run through the name, and then Matthew will give his spiel, and then I'll add anything if I feel like I need to as well. First one, talking about the surprise, not recently surprised, but definitely like if you 3 months ago, not many people had, Jaden Rashada as QB1 for Arizona State. What do you think about that?
I'm pretty surprised. Now I get Drew Pine's been hurt, whatever. First of all, I don't even think it was going to be Drew Pine, right? Trent Bourgeois, whatever. I thought it looked like in the spring game he played well. Kenny Dillingham had a lot of good things to say about him, but I mean, look, Jaden Rashada, the ceiling is there, the upside is there, and if you're Florida right now, what's going through your head right now? What is going through your head?
You're kicking yourself, and the thing is Arizona State that totally changed Kenny Dillingham's outlook. I think for people they had pretty high expectations pretty quickly for them, how they could recruit, how they could take advantage. It'll be interesting to see how they do in the Big 12 with Kenny Dillingham. But yeah, I think Jaden Rashada, I love it. I mean, I don't think Arizona State's expecting to, compete for 9-10 wins this year. I don't think anybody has them doing that. So I think if you're going to take your lumps, you might as well do it with a talented freshman. And by the time you get to the Big 12 next year, you can hit the ground running with a seasoned quarterback there and see it's really opening up in a Kenny Dillingham offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. What about how about Haynes King being announced QB1 at Georgia Tech? I think to your average fan, right? That just follows a little bit of transfer portal things. Maybe you're an SEC football fan and you knew that he transferred from Texas A&M to Georgia Tech, and you're like, oh yeah, and didn't give it another thought. Okay, yeah, he'll be the quarterback there. But I think leading up to that, I think a lot of people were in the belief that Zach Pyron actually had a little bit of an edge there in that kind of quarterback battle. So, what's your take on Haynes King winning that job?
I actually like Zach Pyron. I thought he was interesting as a true freshman last year, coming in for Jeff Sims and playing pretty well. He had familiarity with Brent Pry and staff there, but they did make changes. Now, yes, the head man was still there, but they made huge changes with everybody else on the staff. So everyone got a clean slate. I think it's interesting. I think Hayes King gives you a floor that you have. He's the guy that, I mean, he's got Power Five experience, 2 years kind of being a starter. 1 year he was hurt for most of it, but I I don't know. I think it's interesting. I hopefully the light turns on for him. He's obviously a talented kid. He's got a good arm. He's got to stay healthy though, And so we might end up seeing Zach Pyron anyways, but we'll see what Haynes King can do out of the gate there.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is Haynes King's third quarterback battle that he's won. Is he just the greatest practice player of all time?
Hudson Card.
Greatest
I was
practice
thinking
player
about
of all
that.
time.
I was thinking about that. The similarities between him and Hudson Card are just interesting,
Yeah.
And then coming out and obviously playing pretty bad. It's like the opposite of Matt Flynn.
Yeah, it
Those
is.
of
It
you
really
remember
is.
him never winning a quarterback competition except making a ton of money in the process
NFL.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in college, he
Also,
never won one. He just got it by default. But Hayes King's
yeah.
won it. Hopefully, he's earned it. And we're excited for Georgia Tech. I took their over, so I like them this year, and this kind of validates that as well.
Yeah. All right. Next up, DJU at Oregon State. Let's go Beavs. So
We love it.
this one was not surprising at all. It should not have been surprising to anyone. Your average fan, it was not surprising. To us, it was not surprising. To beat writers, it was not surprising. But to me, I think what's more interesting is this backup quarterback battle, right? Who's going to be their number two? Is it Ben Gulbranson, who actually is also, he could be pretty good, but everything that I hear about Aiden Childs is just he's a dude, right? That's their true freshman, highly rated quarterback that they got out of high school this year. And he was already competing day one for a job over a guy like DJU, right? Who has started in some high level football games and a lot of them. So pretty crazy to me. But I think that number two quarterback battle is going to be something to keep an eye on big time.
Branson had to start the final 8 games of the year last year, and they went 7-1, right? And they beat Oregon in the Civil War. So I regardless, they're going to have good talent there. DJ has obviously had his ups and downs. It seems like he's in an offense that kind of fits him now. He's a year 4 guy now, so hopefully he's figured out. He's seen a bunch of college football, a bunch of defenses now. The ceiling is there with him, absolutely, and like he brings that ceiling obviously to the quarterback room and do that offense with them. But knowing that they got a good backup, and obviously that freshman is awesome. That's why we're super high on Jonathan Smith and Oregon State, and we'll talk about them later on when we get to the AP poll. But
yeah, definitely. Graham Mertz winning the job at Florida. Look, does anyone even know any other quarterbacks in that room? Like, do people actually know who Michael Leon is?
Jack Miller is terrible.
Yeah, well, he's terrible, but no, that was not surprising. They announced it, but talk about it because they announced it. I mean, if he wasn't starting, whoa, that would be, I don't know. I don't know if that'd be a problem or it would be I think it'd be a problem.
Well, people have been high on him since he got to Florida, which, again, we've talked about this multiple times. It's not that we're rooting against Graham Mertz, because I would love nothing more than a former Wisconsin Badger to transfer away and live up to the billing that everyone had him as a highly rated recruit coming out of high school. But I have not seen it on the field in 3 years he's been there at Wisconsin. And apparently the light clicked in spring camp and is carried over to fall. But every year it's come out of spring camp and fall camp that he's made the jump. He's ready to do it. And then it's same old Graham Mertz. We'll see. I mean, he's going to have a good test. That's going to be a good Utah tough environment. But he's used to playing in tough environments. And
a tough defense, by the way. We haven't talked about our Pac-12 breakdown yet, but that's a good defense over there.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I like you said, it was more so by default. I mean, nobody really had expectations of him not winning that job. It's more validated that he did win it. And it's glad he won it more on the earlier side versus if you're UCLA or you're Alabama or Ohio State that don't have a quarterback yet that has separated themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And how about give me Carson Beck as a starter for Georgia? Feed me. I draft him in every single fantasy league that I'm in for college football fantasy. In our fantasy little thing, I drafted Carson Beck as well over some big time guys like KJ Jefferson. Well, actually, I think you took him first, but I
Jaden
had him
Daniels,
at Jaden Daniels. I have him higher than all of those guys,
maybe
which
even
is
Devin Leary.
Devin Leary, which is crazy. Now, Jaden Daniels, I might regret not taking him, but I have him higher in terms of like production value. Like, it is not going to be a downgrade at quarterback, right? And I know that it was a battle with Vandegrift, whatever, but feed me Carson Beck. Feed me Carson Beck. He is a good quarterback. He is. And Heisman odds, I think, at 20-1 right now. I think those probably went down if I had to guess because you officially won the job. So if you already took it, then congrats. You probably got good odds. But I'm not saying that you should bet that because like the Heisman bet feels like you're just throwing away money every year.
I, the thing with Carson Beck is interesting because like everyone talked about that quarterback battle, and Georgia fans have been wanting Brock Vandegrift and even I guess Gunnar Stockton to a lesser degree to take over that job because those guys were 5 stars coming out of high school, and so they fit the billing of like, oh, they've been dying for a really talented quarterback back there, and they've been spoiled honestly with how productive Stetson Bennett was last year and even the latter parts of the year before. Carson Beck is no slouch either. He has a really, really good arm. He is an experienced player. He's produced every time he's been in. He had a great spring. He's getting chemistry with those transfer wide receivers. I expect big things from him. Now, the thing is to say that it's an upgrade or not a downgrade over Stetson Bennett, I think is I'd be cautious to say that, to say the least. I think Stetson Bennett's a guy that was severely underrated, and I think we're seeing how good he's been in with the Los Angeles Rams right now in training camp there in the preseason. But yeah, I'm not expecting them. I'm not expecting Carson Beck to lose that job anytime soon. Nobody really was. It was finally officially announced, and happy for him.
Let's talk about UCLA. Now, I haven't really probably dove in as deep into this quarterback battle because I was like, I don't know. I was given the impression that, that it was going to be really close, but I think both quarterbacks are really good. I think Garbage is good. I think Dante Moore is also good. But I feel like you've probably been following this a little bit closer than I have. What are your thoughts on this UCLA quarterback room?
Yeah, the expectation was coming into fall camp was that it was going to be Dante Moore. Or they were hoping that it was going to be Dante Moore to separate himself. But Ethan Garbers is the guy that's been there for multiple years. He sat behind DTR, right, with Chip Kelly there. And so he's got the offense down pat. He's got the trust of the staff. Not that they don't trust Dante Moore, but I don't think they're going to rush into him because they still can expect to compete this year. It's different if you're Jaden Rashada, right, and at Kenny Dillingham in Arizona State, where you don't have to, compete for a Pac-12 title right away, right? The UCLA feels like they got a chance to do that this year. Not to say that Dante Moore won't play, and not to say that he won't start at all this year. Maybe by week 7, week 8, he comes in and he's ready to play, and he's, Garbers is giving you good work, but nothing special, and Moore can elevate you. But obviously Moore was a freak talent coming out of high school. That was a big time flip getting him from Oregon to UCLA. He came to UCLA because he was frustrated that Bo Nix was coming back for a year with Oregon, so he went and he wanted to play early. So obviously the staff at UCLA believed he could play early. The one that surprises me of this one is Colin Schlee. Colin Schlee was a guy that we talked about earlier in the offseason from Kent State that I was expecting to take over that job. And I was really, really high on him. I liked him a lot at Kent State. And yet it sounds like he's fallen to QB3 there. And that sucks for him because he transferred there, and it's not looking like he's a senior there. That sucks for him. But regardless, they got good talent. That's a really good talented room there. And so
Yeah, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in that room. Not even just Colin Schlee either. What's his name? Justin Martin, I think's there too as well. Like they're pretty solid there. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. a little volatile for me. Like I don't know what I'm getting yet, you know. But
No,
how
I
about
what yeah.
how about okay, we could continue talking about UCLA, but I was gonna bring up Ryan Day taking a poll of his coaching staff, and now they're 50-50
What does that
on
even mean? And
what does that mean?
why would you say that in a press conference? It's not like
Yeah.
nobody put a gun up to your head and say, "What's the feeling?" Like you can just downplay it and like easily brush past that quarterback competition. Now, first of all, I've been a guy that's been high on Devin Brown since he got there. I wanted him to separate and take the job from Kyle McCord. I've been kind of expecting him the more it's going on. And the every week that Kyle McCord didn't get named starter, I was under the impression that it was Devin Brown who was pushing him and that was continuing to make leaps. Even though McCord was a 5-star, I like Devin Brown's talent more. I think he's really, really good. And I love number 33 on the quarterback there. I think that's awesome. We'll see. They still got some weeks to hash it out until they get to Notre Dame, and I think week 4 or week 3. But yeah, I love it. I love it for Devin Brown. And Ohio State fans, I think, should be happy with Devin Brown,
Yeah,
pushing McCord.
if he won the job, it would be wild to me. I know it was like a legit quarterback battle through and through, but Devin Brown, he got hurt in the spring, right? So Kyle McCord, one, has an entire year on him, right, in this offense. I mean, so he's more familiar with it. And Devin Brown got hurt in the spring, didn't even play in the spring game. So when I watched their spring game, right, I'm just watching Kyle McCord thinking like, oh, my evaluation of Ohio State's going to be based on Kyle McCord. It kind of felt like, he did well. He did fine. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just start getting ready for Kyle McCord to be the quarterback of this team. I think a lot of people were saying the same thing. But wow, that would be absurd. Like if you won the job, I would be very impressed, and I would be like, I might be higher on Ohio State just because.
That's just it. I think everyone has, you have your certain ceiling with Kyle McCord and like what your thoughts are. Obviously, he's a talented kid. He can grow into that mold. Ohio State quarterbacks have had success every year they've been there, whatever. But I think that, like you said, I think you got to feel good about your QB2 pushing QB1 and maybe even passing him, raising that room there.
Yeah, definitely. How about Alabama quarterback room? Sounds like people are the inside is saying Jalen Milroe is leading the quarterback battle. I don't know if I believe everything that's going on in there. I still, it feels like to me that they still don't know exactly, but like they got a week. I think all 3 quarterbacks could play week 1.
Yeah, and so what happened in the Ohio State room where you had your talented younger guy, push your third year, maybe limited quarterback with Devin Brown pushing Kyle McCord. People, Bama fans all around were hoping Ty Simpson, the former 5-star, that was going to push Jalen Monroe and eventually take over that job. That has not happened. No quarterback has separated himself. It's not because Milroe has had to lit the camp on fire. It's just nobody's really separated themselves. Buckner's got there. He's kind of behind the learning curve,
Kind of. I mean,
transferring from Notre Dame.
It's Tommy Reese's offense.
Yeah, but in terms of winning over the locker room and like chemistry, like a whole spring is definitely missed out on the spring is tough. The guy that everyone's talking about is Dylan Longerum, the true freshman, highly rated 4-star guy. And I don't know if he won't start week 1. I can promise you that. And he probably won't start this year. But the future of that room looks pretty darn good with him. It'll just be about this year. And I think that's, I don't know. I don't love Jalen Monroe. I don't think they can win it all with Jalen Monroe. I really don't. I think Ty Simpson, I've been waiting for him to take over. But it's going to be a different looking Alabama team than the past, I don't know, 5 years. Maybe since that true freshman year of Jalen Hurts and the year before that with Jacob Coker. But yeah, it's going to be a different Bama team.
It's so weird to me that like, I think people have this stance or this opinion that Nick Saban won't start a true freshman quarterback because of the talent that he has on this team. I think, if anything, the talent of the team would give him any reason to start a true freshman quarterback if they're better, right? I don't understand this, like this national media saying, oh, they're not going to start a true freshman quarterback. They've done it before. Now, he won't start week 1. I know that he won't, okay? But I don't think it's, like, people shouldn't just negate the idea that it could happen, like down the road, like week 5, week 6, week 7, like you said. Like it could happen this year where Dylan Longren gets the call at some point.
Well, you could have a situation where it's Milroe and Simpson battling for it in week 1, and then they both play against Texas and they lose, and the offense struggles. You're gonna have a lot of people calling for it. Now Nick Saban doesn't listen to anybody. He really doesn't. But
he doesn't care.
He's gonna listen. He's gonna listen to his staff and himself, being like, "Listen, maybe long run does give us the best chance to win at the end of the year." When they do get into their tough, but they got a tough schedule anyway. So like, I know. I love it though. I think it's interesting for them. I think it's gonna go deep into the year. I don't really trust anybody there, to be honest, right now.
I agree. Now, another interesting quarterback battle, which kind of was announced, but not really. Brady Cook at Missouri was announced as a team captain for Missouri. Now, it doesn't mean he's starting, but kind of does, right? I mean, it was him, right? Jeff Garcia, Sam Horn, right? The redshirt freshman. That they're all deking it out, right? Jeff Garcia coming from Miami. He played okay at Miami, right? He came in when Tyler Van Dyke, one got hurt, but also when he was struggling at times as well in that offense there with Josh Gaddis. But I originally thought when he transferred to Missouri that was his job to win, right? And I thought like maybe Sam Horn would come in and take the reins eventually, but I guess Brady Cook he's right there, and it sounds like he's fending him off, like by an arm's length distance. So, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I like Brady Cook. I think the quarterback room in general is better than it's been in the past few years with Eli Trinkowicz. Sam Horn's an interesting guy. He's younger for sure. Brady Cook has that experience. Missouri's a team that could surprise some people in the SEC East there. I think Eli Drinkwitz is higher on his team than most people are. But yeah, well, I don't know. It's interesting that they named him captain and then he's not the quarterback yet. So what does that mean? What does that tell you with the locker room? Who does locker room want or who does the coaches want? So we'll see about him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Iowa State, Hunter Deckers, right? Come on. Dude's a gambling man. He's a rambling, gambling man.
Hey, we can't say anything about that. We can't say anything.
I don't blame him. I will say like he didn't do the right thing, but I don't blame him, right? I mean, you're walking into that Iowa State game. How do you not take the under, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if he actually did bet that or what his bet was, but they got some interesting quarterbacks in that room. I know J.J. Cole's a true freshman that they really, really like, right? And Rocco Becht, was a guy that played some last year as well, I think the coaching staff's pretty comfortable with. What is he, like redshirt freshman?
Rocco Becht?
Or true sophomore? He's a pretty young guy in there too. Hasn't gotten a ton of snaps. So if Hunter Decker is out of there, look, I don't think it's a gigantic drop-off. I happen to like Hunter Deckers, I think, a little bit more than some other people do. But, again, I don't know. Maybe we can get – I think if J.J. Cole starts and plays a lot, I think they could win some games that – they're going to lose some games that they should, but I think they're also going to win some games that they should. So that it could be interesting. And they got a pretty tough schedule relative to the rest of the Big 12.
I think – yeah, Rocco Becht sounds like he's been, the guy in terms of who's kind of had a stranglehold on the competition or on the quarterback competition for the first team there. But I think every day, you see it with these true freshmen, these talented true freshmen, they're getting their feet wet. J.J. Cole is exponentially growing up in front of them, and I think that they love his talent. They love, right, what the future of the quarterback. He's the future of the quarterback position at Iowa State. Absolutely. I know Rocco Becht's a young guy. I know he's talented, but J.J. Cole is way too talented and way too good to be kept off the field for too long. I don't think it'll be interesting because they got an early test with Iowa, right? And it's tough to send a true freshman into that Iowa defense, but I hope it's J.J. Cole out the jump. Just like Jaden Rashada, I think, Iowa State's not quite – Matt Campbell's not quite in the same situation as Kenny Dillingham is, or Matt Campbell's in his – couple years there, has been there for a while, where Kenny Williams in year one, but JJ Cole I think would be so awesome I think he's super, super good. Regardless,
Yeah.
it sucks because Hunter Deckers was hopefully supposed to be that gap for this year, and then you could start JJ Cole when he's really, really ready. But obviously not.
Yeah. Also, Brock, their running back, just got dismissed, or he left the team, I guess, yesterday. So
Yeah,
that was, I missed another, but also Cardavius Norton, whatever his name is. He's also a good player.
yeah.
Eli, gosh, forget his name. Eli Stone, maybe Eli something. Anyways, they have
Well,
running back depth there.
Jerome.
So
Oh yeah,
yeah, Gerald Brock, I think he left the team yesterday, but I don't know. I think they're okay at quarterback there, so that'll be an interesting situation to monitor. Matt Campbell's, I think, kept it under wraps pretty good. So let's talk about the AP Top 25. Wow, that'd be really cool to vote for the AP Top 25. I think. Do I think these rankings actually matter? No, but I think it'd be cool to vote for these guys. But when I look at this initial reaction, I agree with a lot of the top 10. I'd say. It's kind of hard for me to figure out where to put Ohio State and Alabama, like whether one's better than the other. It's 2 points, right? Like
that's what I'm
one,
saying. 2 points. That's
it,
just that's the same ranking, honestly.
yeah, it's basically the same ranking, right? They're both in quarterback situations, but they're unsure of. They're both crazy talented. So I do think Georgia and Michigan are the two best teams in the country. They just are. So
Now, it's not a huge gap, honestly, between Georgia and Michigan in terms of the AP poll voters. I mean, that's
oh,
it's
okay,
80, 82
okay,
points. That's a lot, but that's not a ton,
yeah,
compared to what I thought it would be. Now they did get 60 first place votes, right? So that's like 60 out of 63 first place votes for Georgia, but I don't know.
yeah. I do think uh, Washington at in the top 10 seems a little rich, but honestly, that's not terrible, right? They return a lot on offense, and they also return their offensive coordinator, Michael Penix. They get a lot of guys back there, and they had a really good season last year. But it's hard for me. I feel like Utah at 14. I feel like that's going on because people don't know what's going on with Cam Rising. I feel like that's a little worse is voter fatigue of like Utah is really
Yeah.
talented. I think I think that maybe they could be a little higher, but that's kind of nitpicky, right?
I do
I
think
don't know.
with Utah though, I think, and we'll get to it when we get to our Pac-12 breakdowns, but they're gonna miss Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I just rewatched the Utah USC game, the regular season game, and that's where Kincaid had like 200 some yards. I mean, he was so good, and he's obviously balling on the NFL right now. So we'll see what I know. I know they still have a ton of talent there. Cam Rising needs to get healthy ASAP for that roster, but yeah, I I don't know.
Yeah. Another thing too, Wisconsin in the top 20 over teams like Ole Miss, A&M.
Iowa, how's Iowa not ahead of Wisconsin?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I thought that was a little. That one just seems like a little bit hype based, but I don't know. Well, teams like how about some of these teams that received some votes? I find it very interesting that Mississippi State only got 4 votes and Auburn got 7.
I think Mississippi State is a top 25 team, damn near, and I think we've heard it before where it's the SEC West. It's not. It's like if Tulane was in the SEC West, they would not be picked 24th, right? With all due respect to Tulane and them over there, but I think Mississippi State gets hurt because their schedule. Nobody's expecting them to win, 9 games, 8 games, and be in the top 20. But talent wise, they probably do have, a top 25 team.
Yeah, I'd say like receiving the same amount of votes as Toledo and Duke feels a little misleading. That like
Florida, yeah.
now again, these are rankings. Like if you're trying to project right the ultimate resumes of these teams, I can understand why you would take Mississippi State out of the top 25, right? Because again, like you said, they have a tough schedule where like a really, really tough schedule where like they could be a top 25 caliber team, but also only win 6 games, right?
Yeah.
I do, yeah, I do think I found it interesting that I don't think this is a hot take, but I think NC State only getting one vote is a little harsh.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think they're a good team. I mean, they're not on the same level as Liberty with Jonathan Bennett over there and James Madison. They're not on that level, right? So I think they're a little bit better than that. Uh, I'm surprised. I mean, the fact that Coastal Carolina got 3 votes and Troy got 10 votes, like some of these Sun Belt teams. I'm surprised South Alabama didn't get more. I think South Alabama is a really good team this year again. Carter Bradley, Ladarius Webb. Um, but
How about Texas Tech? I mean, I know they're 26, so they're right there on the fringe there, but it's awesome to see them. I mean, they win a couple games. They're gonna be ranked real quick, right? With Joey
well,
McGuire and the crew
well,
there.
week 2 they play Oregon, so they might be ranked after this week, but then they go all.
Oh, yeah.
But they get them at home though, so that'd be a crazy upset. Let me tell you, that'd be awesome. I guess like top 10. If we're getting nitpicky, maybe I wouldn't have Clemson that high. But then again, what do we know? I think Texas should be a top 10 team. I think people are
Look
just
at
tired of ranking them in the top 10. I think they're a top 10 team.
oh yeah, absolutely. Look at the Pac-12 though. You got Southern Cal,
Yeah.
Washington, Utah, Oregon, Oregon State, all in the top 18 with UCLA knocking on the door as well. I mean, this is an awesome time. We talked about it. We love the Pac-12. This conference is going to be a year to watch, especially it's a historic year for them. Well, historically, kind of maybe not the right word there, but I think it's going to be a great swan song for the Pac-12, and I think going to make some national noise, especially in that like 15 to 5 to 15 range, right? Maybe not with a ton of upper echelon like college football playoff contenders, I mean, other than Southern USC, but from 5 to 15, I think there are going to be a ton of Pac-12 teams there. That's going to be really, really good football to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be look, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m., 1 a.m. Central Time. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, one team I'll say that I was like, and this is kind of scraping at the bottom of the barrel here, right? Because they didn't even get that many votes, but I was still surprised to see that they got as many votes as they did. It was Pitt getting more votes than Kentucky, Louisville, Auburn, Mississippi State,
Minnesota.
Illinois, Baylor. Even I would have had all of those teams ahead of Pittsburgh. I think so.
Again, you're projecting or this, so if they're projecting resumes, the ACC is definitely a little different landscape than what Auburn has to go through, or Kentucky. Even Louisville's got an easy schedule though. The one that pisses me off right now, I the most is honestly Illinois. I think Illinois, even if you're projecting resumes, I think they're criminally underrated. The more and more I look into them, the more and more I hear about it, I just
The
think
more and
Illinois
more
is going
you
to be really.
wish you took their over 6.5 during our show, huh?
Yeah, honestly, I think they're going to be really, really productive this year. It might even be them, and I would, yeah, them and Iowa. I think are going to be the Big Ten West favorites. With Wisconsin and Minnesota behind them. But yeah,
Yeah. I keep looking
the
at
Big
Notre
12 though.
Dame.
Look at. Oh yeah, we'll talk about Notre Dame. 13.
I mean, look, they play like probably the toughest schedule in the country this year. So like, look, if they win some ball games, they'll earn it for sure. But
If they go 10-2, is Marcus Freeman coach of the year?
well, he
That
won't
means
win it. But he they wouldn't win. He wouldn't win coach of the year with a 10-2 record. But I mean, the argument.
that means you're updating some good teams, right? You play, NC State obviously on the road. That's not an easy win. You got Ohio State, USC, Clemson. That means you're beating one of Clemson, USC, and Ohio State. You got to play Louisville. I mean, Stanford at the end of the year. Oh,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
yeah.
But
But
you're saying
to be honest, I'm a wait and see on Notre Dame. I still don't know if I love. I mean, I love Sam Hartman, but I think they might be a year away from really being, a top 10 caliber team. So I think 13 is fine for them.
Yeah, it's hard to project. I'll say you were about to say stuff about the Big 12. It's crazy that they don't have a team in the top 10.
Yeah. But they have, I mean, they got Texas, you got Kansas
Texas is
State,
in.
TCU,
If I was a
Oklahoma,
voter, if I was a voter,
Texas Tech right there.
Texas would be in my top 10, and Washington would not. Even though Washington just beat the piss out of them in the bowl game, I still come on. But I might even put Texas ahead of Clemson. Is that crazy? That might be a little too rich.
No, that's not. I really don't. I think if you're taking quarterbacks that are you're expecting a year to leap, I think Quinn Ewers is that. I think everybody's higher on him than Cade Klubnik. I don't hate. I love the Texas love right now. I'm pretty high on them. They got a nice roster.
Yeah, I like Penn State where they are. I might even put Penn State even higher, but I'm okay with where they are. They're a top 10 team. They should be there. Florida State's a top 10 team, probably. USC's a top 10 team. LSU's a top 10 team. Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan,
Them
Georgia.
over. Sorry, Florida State over Clemson is really interesting. I think the hype has gone really high for Florida State, and we're in on it. Like I picked them to win the ACC. But that's kind of shocking. I mean, imagine 12 months ago, you're like, hey, Florida State's going to open the season ranked higher than Clemson. That's pretty impressive for Mike Norvell and what they've done there.
Yeah, I'd say they're a borderline top 10 team to me, but they probably crack my top 10 for sure. I mean, they're a good team. They're a really, really good team. But crazy stat I saw the other day is Mike Norvell has yet to win road game against the top 25 team. Actually, it might just be
Really?
a game against top 25 team. I don't know. I mean, look at their wins last year. I mean,
that's what people are. That's if you're nitpicking Florida State, if you're not as high on them, you're talking about their schedule last year. They beat up on some bad teams, right? And they inflated their win total, but
they're a good team. Again,
it's a deep team. Yeah.
Don't want to knock them. I'm just saying they do still have some things that they need to prove.
The thing with also calling the team a top 10 team, it's also relative to every year. I mean, some years you could have 10 really, really talented teams that are all worthy of maybe being in the top 5 of other years. Like, I think this is a year where you have a clear, tier 1 and 2 with your, like the top, maybe I'd throw a top 5, maybe 6 if USC, puts it together defensively. But then like that tier 3, I think is a super, super interesting tier. That's kind of pretty volatile with your Penn States, Washington's, Texas, Tennessee's, even if they hit, I think, I don't know if the teams that have obviously huge question marks, but I think can hit really big, if they do answer them with good,
Yeah. I mean, look, Toledo being the only MAC team, come on, the disrespect. I'm glad
the
that
Sun Belt though.
I think every conference made it onto here. Because Mountain West got Boise State, like at least receiving votes. I'm saying receiving votes.
Where's the CUSA?
Liberty.
Liberty and the CUSA now? That's right. Yeah.
With one, they got one vote. So
UTSA and Tulane are the highest ranked American teams.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Which is pretty interesting. So
also a question for you, Matthew, real quick: if Cincinnati was still in the American, would they be on this graphic here? We're about to get into our Big 12 previews here soon, but
oh man, I don't think so. Because another team that I'm surprised it's not here is SMU. Underratedly. So I would have SMU above Cincinnati in the American. So I would not.
Okay.
Which tells you if I have SMU over Cincinnati, who else in the Big 12 am I gonna have over Cincinnati?
Got Satterfield. What are we doing?
I know. Yeah, we'll talk about that. A lot of transfers over there. A lot of transfers over there. But yeah, I still don't think that they're ranked, even if they're back in the American. Like, I don't know. Because I guess
on the spot here, real quick, I'm gonna give you one team that you expect to make the biggest fall? Like A&M started as a top 10 team last year and they fell hard, right? Who's the one team that you think, or you wouldn't be surprised if,
Like the
shit
bottom
hits the
could fall
fan?
out.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Uh, wow, that's a really good question. It's hard to like project like some of these like top 10 teams, like the bottom falling off of them from under them. But if I was to pick a team that the bottom falls,
Maybe top 15. You can look top 15 too.
top 15, it might be uh might be
I,
Tennessee.
that's exactly what I was thinking. It's not that I'm projecting Tennessee to do bad. I just think
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
volatility is pretty high. I think you have no idea what Joe Milton's going to be. It's not an easy schedule. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
because
well,
you get A&M and Bama your crossover games. You got to deal with Georgia and even South Carolina, right? Who you struggled with last year.
yeah. Yeah. I mean the thing that I keep coming back to, like, to the bottom to fall out, right? A lot of times it's quarterback injury, right? So I was looking at teams like where that's most important, and honestly, Tennessee's not on that list.
Notre Dame's on that list, if you ask me.
Notre Dame is very much on that list. The bottom could definitely fall off for Notre Dame if Sam Hartman gets hurt and he goes down. Like with that schedule, that is a gauntlet. That is a gauntlet, right? And look, Utah is going to already be seeing what it's like without Cam Rising, at least likely for week 1, based on the line movement there. That's a little crazy. We'll talk about that next week. Um, like a team like Alabama is fine. Ohio State's fine. Michigan could be fine. Georgia's fine. LSU's fine. I don't know if I already said that. USC would be an interesting one if Caleb Williams went down.
But they still have
But
talent in that room, and Lincoln
yeah,
Riley, they're going to produce it's not like last year. Caleb Williams, I think, not carried that team, but I think he made up for a lot of deficiencies on that roster, and the turnover luck was there for him. I think they've fixed a lot of those holes. Um, so I think it wouldn't be as dramatic as it was last year if Caleb Williams were to go down. But yeah.
yeah. I'd say if if uh Jordan Travis went down for Florida State, I could see it spiraling a little bit. Like they're talented, I guess, all around, but the depth, it feels like the depth is not as much there as it is for these other teams in the top 10, which that really is kind of what it comes down to, right? Like sometimes is the bottom falls out when you don't have the depth late in the season, right? When
Yeah.
Florida State's, I mean, thankfully they play like Clemson, like week 6. It's pretty early, but
Before their bye week, I think.
yeah,
But they get LSU and Clemson right away. The
yeah. So
interesting part is with them is I think also to your point is they don't have the elite talent. So they do have margin of error to lose games against lesser talented teams where they should be favored, and they're gonna be favored pretty high. Oopsies. Gonna be favored pretty high, but like if they just don't show up, they can't sleepwalk through these games like the other top 10 teams maybe can.
yeah, totally. Totally. Well, that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, check us out on Spotify, like and subscribe if you like our content, or give us a rating on Spotify. Uh, Let us know what you guys want to see. Get excited for, I know we've been saying that our previews for these other conferences are coming out. They're coming out soon. I promise. I promise. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.